Okay, so I think we're live.
We're live.
Well, welcome to Coffee Talk. Thank you so much for coming on with me today. Your evening, my morning.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you, Judy.
I love just chatting with people from around the world and seeing what different things are showing up, but there's always this common thread,
Yeah,
which is really funny.
exactly, because we're also aware of each other's
Right.
universes and everything else.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
funny thing called awareness that it's so feather light and so subtle. And there are times when you're absolutely sure that it's your thing,
yeah,
and it's so familiar. And yet it's not. That's awareness also.
yeah, exactly. And how many people that don't have the tools are actually jumping into that automatically? This is mine. I make it solid. I make it real. Of course, it's solid and real. What are you talking about? And yeah,
Yeah. So before we jumped on, we we came to the realization that our topic for today was going to be invisible adversarial forces. Those things when you wake up and it's like you're already in a cloud of heaviness, and like what tools can you use to get through all of that, and who are these invisible adversarial forces?
yeah, I'd like to know who they are. But the thing is that they are so present sometimes, and like you say, it's like unless we start asking some questions and using some tools, then we really buy into the thing that it's ours, it's us, and we start questioning what is actually going on when we can't even define it. We just feel this heaviness, this lumps, these mountains at times
Mhm.
that even though we have, life is going great and we're creating our things and all of this stuff, and at the same time we're going to a funk. And what is all that about? And I
It's
mean, at
so
the
true.
moment, I was telling you just before we jumped on here is that, I have a lot of classes and creations. I mean, a whole list, and our calendar is packed until November now. And
Awesome.
yeah, how does it get better? It's been one of my great asks is to fill up the year, and it's there. And I'm still trying to fit in more stuff around it, which is great. And knowing that everything will change, but it's this excitement of creation and with new classes, with already existing classes, and the photography and everything else, and like you say, at times it's like, wow, what's this heaviness? Where does it come from? What is it even? Who is it?
Exactly. Yeah. So yesterday I did this taste of Talk to the Entities with Lale,
Yeah,
and there were people from all over the world, so many countries. I've never actually been part of something that, well, no, I have, but it's rare.
yeah,
I think there were 150 people.
wow,
And whether they're live or not, we still tap into all of their worlds
yeah,
that I wasn't considering. And, we're talking about entities and all the people that they're connected to and all the entities that they're connected to. And it was funny because the night before, I had really crazy dreams. And today there's this like really weird energy uh, that I'm aware of. And I was making a coffee and I was like, okay, what is this? Wait a second. How many of these entities are still hanging out, like waiting for the class that I have coming up? And what
yeah.
would it take for for them to register or get people to register?
Exactly. I mean, I usually, when I perceive the entities trying to join a class and they're in class before everybody else, like a week before everybody else,
Yeah.
I'll tell them, okay, we'll make a deal. You can join for free as long as you bring two paying participants with cash in hand with their body. And
Two, that's it. I'm asking for 10.
well, I mean, there's so many of them that, if everybody brings two, it's great.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yes.
It did
I'll have
work for the class in Budapest, I must say.
mm,
Yes, definitely did. And the
That's,
funny thing is that the entities seem to be quite satisfied to just like bring the paying ones and not take the class. So that was a sweet deal.
yeah, yeah. And then there's there's the class and there's the entities, and then there's also awareness of like everybody else in your city,
Yep.
town,
And
country.
around the world. Yeah.
Yeah. And so really what I keep coming back to is, what is my reality?
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, what is my reality? Because my reality doesn't have that heaviness in it. It's like this light, sparkly, fun, happy. So whose reality am I aware of?
Exactly. And it's and that reality of, sparkles and fun and happiness and joy is actually, you know, most of us actually function that way. That's most of our reality, and the things that we don't acknowledge that's what it actually is. So as soon as we get these adversarial forces coming to want to play and whatever, yeah, we tend to forget that joy and happiness and sparkles is actually, our reality.
It is.
Yeah.
And you capture that, don't you, in your photos?
Yeah, and yeah, thanks for that question. I'm actually, yeah, I capture it. I don't create it. I capture it, and and that is, it's also part of this new class that I have called Undefining Beauty, and it's really me being with my barriers down and having no judgment of the person that I have in front of me or the object, whatever, whoever or whatever I have in front of my camera. I don't judge, and
Mhm.
that's when I can actually see the beauty of everyone and everything. And
Yeah.
when I don't see the beauty, it's just so obvious that the ugliness is created by all the judgments that are put in place that I'm aware of. And I mean, yeah, this class has been the result of many conversations, both with Amanda, my wife, and with Gary Douglas,
Mhm.
about what beauty actually is, and um, and it's really this thing of, beauty being about receiving with no judgment, no projections, no expectations,
Wow,
and
that's really interesting. Um, Many years ago, one of my neighbors said to me, Julie, you create beauty in everything you do. And I never thought of it as creating without judgment. Wow. So
yeah,
it's like this magic eraser
yeah,
of
it is, it is
putting things in and removing the judgment.
totally.
I love
And
that.
Gary actually put it brilliantly, as he usually does. And he made a post a few weeks ago, and it said, um, "Ugliness is created in the world; beauty just is."
Right. I think I saw you post that.
Yeah, brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. So in your classes, it's like you're removing the created judgments and then the beauty just naturally
Yeah,
shows
for
through.
those that are willing to receive it, yes.
Cool.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, the class, the first class of Undefining Beauty that I did a couple of weeks ago was so much greater than I could possibly imagine, because a lot of questions came up in class, including about the war that is going on, and including the pandemic, and including everything else.
Hmm.
Apart from the physical judgment that we have about us, our bodies, and what this reality is judging as being beauty, um, which, and also, positive judgments are still judgments.
Right. And so, like, when you take a photo, you're seeing the beauty, you're seeing what is. It's like seeing the energy that other people don't necessarily see, but you can see it and acknowledge it, and then it shows up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's an invitation for those that I photograph to actually receive the beauty that I see with and remove the judgments that they've had about themselves. And only at that point can they actually receive the beauty that they truly be.
So cool.
It is, it's very cool. It's very cool.
Yeah. Wow.
So I wonder, also with these adversarial forces, if we were not to judge them as anything, how we could possibly maybe turn them into contributory forces.
You know, just recently on a call with Dane, he was saying something about he called to the energy, "You're so mean. You're so mean." And he said that was the thing that dissipated it. So I wonder if we can just say that to the invisible adversarial forces. "You're so mean," like a 6-year-old. Go away.
Go away, you're being mean now.
I'll try that. Yeah.
And also it gets lighter also because it's, you're adding humor to it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Humor does dissipate quite a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
That's
one
so
brilliant
true.
question I love is, what's funny about this that I'm not laughing
I like that question.
at?
Yeah.
You can use it in everything, including, when you're having sex, ask that question and it might get even more fun.
Totally.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, anybody have any questions? Anybody who's listening in? Hi, Chris. Chris is there. I don't know who else is there.
I'm going to jump on my Facebook. Whoops. And let me see here.
So this morning I got an email that somebody had downloaded my book, Beauty in the Breakup.
Yeah.
Oh, Julie Rose Clark is there too. Hi, Julie. And I've been getting some nice positive feedback from the book and even the title, Beauty in the Breakup, that you can actually create beauty.
Yeah.
When you're creating an uncreation of a relationship.
Yeah.
So just looking at that and removing the judgment, like this whole thing of beauty being and ugliness is judgment, is just.
Yes. Yeah. And it's really funny how the subject of the topic of beauty, well, first of all, it was banned, by Gary to be facilitated by anybody until, yeah, I just went up to him and said, hey, I would like to facilitate a class about beauty. And we had long discussions about it. But it's really great how the topic keeps popping up in so many different classes right now.
Mm-hmm.
With Gary, with Dane, and Chris was talking about it. Well, he's been talking about it quite a lot with the antiques and everything.
Somebody actually used to facilitate it, something like it, a long time ago, and it was all about the judgment of beauty. It was like, okay, this is interesting.
Yeah.
So I think that's why
that's probably why Gary's that
pausing for a while.
Yeah.
But it is really interesting what has changed, at least for me, over the last several years. I was listening to an old private session that I did with Shannon. It was in Rome during the last live maestro class. So it was 2019, I think. And there was something about how I was defending against the judgment of my ex-husband, access and all of that. And so what I did was I hid access because I was sort of under attack, divorce attack, so to speak, even though in my world, it was ease, joy, and glory. And it was for him until he decided that it was wrong and bad. And from where I was there and being at the effect of the judgment of all kinds of things, defending things, avoiding things, to now and seeing where judgment is positive and negative and that it's not real at all. Like I feel like a whole different person.
Yeah.
And I wonder how many other people have, like, taken their head out of the sand or out of their ass or whatever, and actually see it much clearer now. There's just more space.
Yeah, and when we look at this reality in general, I mean, how much of it isn't actually based on judgment? Pretty much all of it. I've been working in the fashion, beauty, photography industry for many, many years, over 40, and it's really, it all functions on judgment.
Yeah.
It feeds on judgment and it creates judgment, which is very interesting.
Yeah.
And
That's
when you
one
look
of
at
the,
that,
yeah.
there's no gratitude in it whatsoever, and that's because the two can never, coexist, of course.
Yeah. Maria's saying hi. Hi, Maria. Yeah, it really is a completely different energy. And like when we go to a live access class and we see everybody in person, and everybody's so different and they're all wearing completely different styles of clothes. It's not like this is the look that you have to have and I'm right because I'm wearing the latest whatever. But
Exactly.
there's such joy and allowance
Yeah,
of everybody having what lights them up, and it's amazing.
it is amazing. Imagine what the world would be like if you could have that everywhere with anybody around the world and have that yummy energy of total allowance and no judgment and just being.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know that we pick up other people's judgments because for me, being a jewelry designer, I would, bring my collections into boutiques and getting my stuff out of the car. I don't have a point of view about what I'm wearing and is it latest and greatest or whatever. And I feel good. And then I walk into a store and all of a sudden I'm like, oh God, these clothes are so old. I got them like 10 years ago and I'm still wearing the same thing. And I'm like, where is that coming from?
Well, awareness. Or healthy judgments about themselves. Oh wow, the sun is so bright and
Yeah,
shining.
I see it all of a sudden.
Finally, let me see if I can. This sounds ridiculous, trying to hide away from the sunshine in Stockholm when we've been waiting for it for months.
Right.
There. A little bit better.
Yeah. So what would the world be like without judgment? I wonder.
Yeah, and I asked that question to Dane several months ago, maybe a year ago. And I just sent him a voice message on WhatsApp, I think. And his answer came back several days later. And I was already like going into a funk of like, why is, okay, I get it, it is busy and whatever, but I mean, it's like, it was just a short question. It was like, and then it came. And he starts insulting me like you can't imagine. And I immediately went into like, come on, I was asking about, what the world would look like with no judgment. And I'm receiving so much judgment. I mean, what is all this about? And blah, blah, blah. And I went into funk for 72 hours. And listening to this message over and over again, going like, what am I missing here? What am I missing? And then he came. And Amanda and I were boarding a flight to Mexico City. And I listened to the message one more time. And I start laughing my head off. And I was like, wow, that was absolutely brilliant. Because unless I can just move past the point of judgment and receive the judgment and actually, dissipate it with like interesting point of view, then yeah, the world is still going to have judgment. So it starts with me. And I
Just
just,
so wonderful. Like, how
it,
fucking amazing is that?
it was really brilliant. So I answered her. I said, thank you so much for this brilliant facilitation.
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
Massive wedgie, massive facilitation, and pure brilliance.
I was I was looking back over the years at how he hammers you on the head, and the bits come off. And I was telling him he's like Michelangelo sculpting, taking the chunks of crap that we've solidified on ourselves and revealing the glorious statue underneath, not really statue, but the being. Yeah, it's amazing when you do get facilitated. The first place we go is to the wrongness
Yeah,
of being whatever that is, or whatever question you've asked, or not having the awareness of the space and the possibility until later.
yeah,
And God, like, it's hard being a facilitator sometimes, because that you need to bump that.
when required, yes.
And it
And
could
the
take
brilliant thing about
somebody
Dane is
a
also that
while.
by doing that, there was, I mean, he used the judgment in order to remove the judgment. And it's
Brilliant.
only when was actually willing to look at it and like, okay, so truth, what is it? Is it judgment? And I was getting no, but it definitely feels like a judgment. Yeah, well, because I'm creating that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Even the invisible adversarial forces, the IAF, like, they're heavy. And I'm making my coffee and I'm like, wow, this is heavy. Oh, right. Heavy is a lie. It's not my reality. Okay. So what else is possible? And what if we didn't have to figure it out and, dissect it? We could just step aside.
Exactly. Interesting point of view, step aside and actually being grateful for it, which is the tiny part that, seems to be so hard, turning all those judgments into gratitude. And it's just a choice away. It's literally just a choice away of changing your point of view.
Absolutely. Turn it 180 degrees.
Yeah. And
Hmm.
it's going back to, what is this? What can I do with it? Can I change it? And if so, how can I change it?
Right. Yeah.
And also this thing of like, when we make it about, put it outside ourselves and also make it so solid and real, and being as small as these adversarial forces, rather than being so much greater as infinite beings, of like, oh, that tiny little thing, okay, cool.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. When we go into trying to figure out,
Yeah, yeah, whenever we go into any sort of funk, we just do that.
Mhm. God, imagine the power and potency that it takes to contract an infinite
Yeah,
being into these tiny places, spaces that we do. So,
totally.
like,
Imagine using that same amount of energy into creating what you actually desire to create.
mhm. Yeah, for more than just a few seconds at a
Yeah,
time,
yeah,
because we do have moments of that space. And um, in another group, I do these expanding exercises. And then last week we did expanding every day in a series, and it was amazing.
yeah,
and, building the muscle of staying expanded, because we're so used to this. I think I'm going to do another 30-day one, because
That sounds like a brilliant.
it's just so good. It only takes a few seconds,
Yeah.
especially in a group. There's just so much more energy to be able to perceive it. Because in the beginning, I didn't even know I was a being. I was like, what's that? It's like this thing back here. Oh, this thing that's like
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yep. Yep. And I mean, I was having a chat with Amanda yesterday, and it's a chat that's been going on for a few months now. And it's like how the ground feels so non-solid more and more and more every day.
Mhm.
And it's really this this thing of this reality going completely nuts and trying to tell us that that is normality, uh, which I guess it is for the majority of people on planet Earth, and that want to buy into all the lies of whatever's going on, and having so little of themselves.
Mm.
And when you're
Yeah,
willing to live,
surviving,
yeah,
survival mode.
survival mode. How many around the world aren't in survival mode right
Yeah.
now, and they've been there for the last 2.5 years?
Yeah. Yeah. I like the question that Dane has given us recently. What if you lived for personal pleasure?
I love that. I love that. And when he said that, I was really acknowledging how much of my life, how great part of my life I've actually been living with that.
Mm-hmm. But without judgment,
Yes.
without this is bad and wrong to do this,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I was judging the crap out of myself for many years. And it's funny because I actually started judging myself for those things as an adult, and it was during my previous marriage. Um, and before that, there was very little of that. But getting all this, self-judgment and feeling so wrong about how I was choosing pleasure in my life on all sorts of levels was bad. It was evil. It was like, I could not do that. I could not
Well,
function that
was that yours or
way. No,
was
no.
that hers?
That was totally hers.
Yeah.
A lot of judgment there. And
Pod Poc, return to sender.
and probably it was not even hers, but
Right.
friends as well.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And there is a difference. I was saying this to somebody the other day. There's a difference between personal pleasure that it's like insular, where it's just for you. And then there's a personal pleasure where that energy gets shared with the world. So it creates
Yeah,
a different space.
yeah,
It's like taking versus gifting and receiving.
yes, yeah.
So last night I went to go see some music. I was going to meet somebody, but they never showed up, so I left. And I was just sitting there. And at first I was sitting there
That
kind of
was rude.
like, I know, right? But I got to enjoy the music.
That's good.
But I was sitting there and there were all these people who were together and they were doing their thing. And I was just like kind of reserved. And I was like, you know what? Like, be with everybody. And I started like flowing this energy throughout the venue. And different people started coming up to me, talking to me, high-fiving, whatever. It was just so interesting because both ways I was enjoying the music, but one, I was like being separate. And I was like, wow, what do I do that for? So, all the places that our habitual setting is on separate
Yeah,
or reserved or turned down, pod poc.
Mhm. Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, it looks like we're at the end of our 30 minutes of coffee talk.
Always so nice chatting with you.
Yeah, it was so fun. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much, Julie. Thank you very much.
I feel lighter. Do you feel lighter?
Totally.
Hopefully,
Totally.
everybody listening feels lighter.
I hope so too. And yeah, thank you for bringing up this topic of the adversarial forces. And yeah,
The IAF, we've got their number. We know how to get beyond it now.
exactly. And whatever you do, don't do these expansion exercises anymore.
Yeah, I think I'm going to do a month one. I don't know. Do you think people can handle it? It might be a
It sounds like
challenge.
kind of a treat.
All right. Well, have a great rest of your day. And thanks everybody for watching. And we'll see you next week.
Thank you so much.
Bye.